And just like that. Good morning.
Hi. So just when you say let's go live, I knock over my light.
I'm literally just about to press the button, go live, and I hear a crash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, what happened? And
It's only my cheap. The one thing about ring lights, for those of you who don't have them, they're really cheap. You can get them anywhere, like $10 now. Like they're not like before when they came out, they were like a couple of $100, right? So it doesn't matter. It's a little broken. I might have to tape it.
it was just like, I can't press go live. She was like, no, just go ahead. I'll be fine.
And I'm a little blinded because the frosting is not exactly on. So now there's all these little lights pointing at me.
Oh, right. Yeah, because the thing's not on. Yes.
So I'm kind of like, hello.
Good
Good morning.
Great way to start your day.
Yeah, it's okay. It is
That's
what
okay. So we had an interesting adventure on Sunday.
We did?
We did.
Oh yeah. We went to the Juno Awards. Yay.
So if
Our
anybody hasn't gone
viewers,
to
just so our international viewers know, the Junos is it's the Canadian Grammys.
There we go. Didn't even occur to me. Good call.
Yeah.
But if you've never gone to an award show, which I had not and you had not, like it was so interesting to see the behind the scenes of what goes on. Because what you see on TV is literally, and I cannot emphasize, like this much.
Yeah.
Because we could see on the screen what other people could see on the TV, and they were like, you know, zoomed in on the performer, all that kind of stuff. But there's so much stuff.
Yeah, and you know, it was really what was fascinating is because we both were like some of the we knew a couple of performers, but to be honest, we didn't know them all.
No.
And but I had mentioned to my friend, and he goes, well, you and Stacy probably just wanted to see how the production was put together anyway. Like, yeah.
Well, I was like, you know, again, I love seeing things happen, right? Like I'm, you know, the quintessential producer, so I'm fascinated by the girl with the clipboard, the big binder, you know, the guys running with the cords because we don't have wireless stuff anymore, which I was surprised about how much, you know, cords and like
you want cords because God forbid your wireless goes out.
Right. True. But we've got the girl like, you know, no, you got to be here. You've got to stand here, like directing everybody. And it was just so interesting. And then all the stuff that was going on stage. Yeah. But then you found a lot of parts really interesting as well.
Yeah. For me, the biggest, I guess, letdown when we were watching it is I was shocked at how everything was on a teleprompter. And there was like a little teleprompter on the camera, and then this massive giant teleprompter, you know, back. So like I could read their teleprompter from where we were right beside the stage because we were in GA floors. So, but I could have read their speech. But what was, I don't mind, like I get it for host, and I get it for, you know, you're introducing a guest or something, you know what I mean? But what shocked me was people that won awards were reading their script. They were reading the teleprompter, and I was like, wow, how disappointing is that? It's not really, you're not in the moment saying like, couldn't you just memorize a speech? Like if you really had to, like it's once in a lifetime, you're going to get this award. I get it. I mean, it looks more polished than that, but so two things. One is congratulations to actors who are able to have fooled me all these years thinking they were actually giving their proper speeches, right?
Exactly.
Well, and then, so that was cool. But then the other was, like I said, I mean, if I won an award, I would want to, you know, be off the cuff and say how I feel. Like that's, I don't know. I just found that really disappointing.
Well, exactly. And you think about, okay, so like I understand maybe having a couple of names. So it's like I want to make sure that I thank, you know, like you see the Academy Awards, right? They're like, make sure they thank the
Yeah.
Academy and all of that, because I can understand in the moment
Yeah.
that stuff might not enter your brain because you're excited, you won, you want to make sure you thank your parents and your kids and
Yeah.
your, significant others and all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But so I could kind of see, like, make sure you cover like these three people as an
Yeah.
example. Just, but other than that, it should be authentic. And it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was
No.
very, I'm so excited that I want, like, it was literally later on, I was
Yeah.
reading it as they were saying it, and I felt icky.
Yeah, me too. I just was like, I felt like used or something, you know? And it was just really fascinating to that piece of it was probably,
Mhm.
the weirdest to me. Like I didn't expect it at all. And like there's nothing wrong with teleprompters. We use them occasionally. And again, we just use them for if we want to make sure that we remember something that has to be said in the, whether
Yeah,
it's a
like
URL
a
or just a point or something.
yeah.
We don't really script much. Like we don't really read it all the time. So teleprompters are amazing, especially for people that are nervous about videos, because you can look like you're not using one, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them. They're fantastic. They work. I just didn't want to see it when somebody won an award. It's
Yeah.
kind of like it just like, and I get like the host, and the host was great. He was wonderful. And he did a lot of improvising, I would say, because he did go off script
Yep.
with his more of his actions. But so that was good. But everything else was pretty much, tickety boom, right?
Well, it was interesting to see. So again, what you don't see is what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So that's where I found it fascinating. So at one point, the mayor of Toronto
Yeah.
was on stage, and his script was on the teleprompter.
Right.
So this is what he was supposed to say. So you knew it was right. You didn't see this on TV, but all of a sudden he's removed from the stage and somebody else's script is up on the teleprompter. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
And it's because they ran out of time.
Yeah.
So that's what you don't see, is the changes on the fly that they need to make, because they're within a TV schedule.
Yeah.
If it was just in person, or if it wasn't live, they could edit it later, but they can't.
Right.
They're live. They have to stay within the TV schedule because they can't go over a certain hour.
Yeah.
So that had to be removed. And then, yeah, just all the stuff that was going on stage, outside of outside of what the TV saw, was just
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the people watching piece, because there's another fascinating people. So
Yes.
We are subscribers to Budweiser Stage, which is the concert series throughout the summer in Toronto, and it's a lovely venue because it's outdoors. Lots of older bands, retro bands, and there's this beautiful VIP club called the Lake House, where if you're a subscriber, then you get to use it, or have drinks and stuff. So we were there, and we met a couple of people, other subscribers there, and there was it was really interesting because you would see the subscribers, you knew the Budweiser people, the concert people, because we were all in jeans.
Jeans and a t-shirt. Like, that's like, you can't get any more casual than that.
The Juno crowd, and there was a lot of like, very, no offense, girls, but a lot of fake looking girls there with little tight dresses on and like heels, skyrocketed heels. And what was interesting, and again, we want to point it out, not because I'm making fun of them, but in a production, which I am, but in a production, when you see it on TV, these like high heels and glitzy things, and when you see it on the awards show and on the stage, it looks fine.
Yeah.
But now put those people in an outdoor concert area where it's like they're sitting on like plastic chairs and they just look crazy.
It looks so, and the thing is that, where you have to go from the lake house, you have to go down like 3 flights of stairs, and then you're on GA, which is a concrete floor, not made for heels.
No.
But they came afterwards, and and we're like, this is not made for your shoes.
No. Like, so when we go to concerts, because we do a lot of, again, like our seats are really close, they're like 5th row or something, but there's a lot of GA concerts So in GA, you stand. So you wear flat running shoes or sandals or something that's flat because you're standing the entire time,
Yeah.
boots, whatever. But you are not going to be like, if you can't stand for 3 or 4 hours, you can't sit in GA, can't go to GA, right?
Yeah.
But and these girls are in like literally skyrocket, and then their hairs and their tiny little dresses, but their faces. Sorry, girls, like you shouldn't be 20 full of Botox. It's too early to start Botox when you're 20 because their faces look like zombie kind of faces. They all look the same, right?
Well,
Very weird.
and you had pointed out how they look on TV because they look pseudo, we're going to use the word normal in
Yeah.
quotations, but they
Yeah.
look okay on
Yes.
TV. They don't look so plasticky.
No.
But when we saw them in person, it was like, I wanted to touch their face.
It's true, right?
Real?
It was so weird. And they're young. They're not even, like they don't need all that stuff. I think that, so I'm going to give a little kick to social media because it's forced a lot of these young girls to think that they're supposed to look like their filter.
Right. And you can't look like a filter. That's why it's called a filter and not real.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
it's just interesting. But it was kind of like, okay, we'll do my Star Wars reference. When you walk into the bar at Star Wars and all the aliens are there from everywhere and there's like any kind of creature you can think of. That's what the lake house was like.
So
it was like walking into the Star Wars bar and, there's Stacy and I sitting there in our jeans and t-shirts and we're looking around and there's like, people with silver heads and feathers and like, it was like a costume ball, but they weren't going to a costume ball.
Yeah, it's like nobody told us. It was kind of like, here's us, like we're close to the bar, so it's like they're all sitting, and then like we're kind of in this 2-seat table in the middle, and we're like, I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, what?
Yeah,
where are we?
But it was like so much fun
Yeah, it was
because
great.
we like to watch all that stuff. I mean, we didn't know a lot of the performers. I mean, the Arkells were on, they opened the show and they were great. For those of you, most of you in Canada know them. Great band. And then Avril Lavigne was on, who I love.
Amazing.
And she did a great job of, a bunch of her old songs and stuff. And she was fantastic. But I honestly, I didn't know I didn't know the rapper that won. I didn't know the other rapper. I didn't know. And I know a lot of them, but I didn't know a lot.
Yeah, we had to, afterwards, we were kind of like Googling like who is who or whatever, because we're not up on that kind of genre.
And then my daughter, I had texted her and said, I said, well, we didn't know a lot of people. And she texted me back. She goes, I can't remember her name. She goes, I like somebody. And Stacy and I are like, we didn't remember her singing. And then we had to look it up and we're like, oh yeah, the girl in purple.
So it was very interesting. Again, congratulations to all the winners.
Yeah.
It was a very, I agree, it was a very fun night.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It was a huge learning opportunity. It was so interesting to see. Again, love just seeing how it was all put together, how they did it, why they did certain things, how they were changing things on the fly. Like I said, it was so funny to see the girl with the big binder. Like her binder was like 2 or 3 inches thick. Like she had this like ready to go. And then literally like as soon as it was over, she's like, oh. She was like, I did it.
And it's very different than a concert. It was like done. Like all of a sudden it was over. There was no like big fanfare or anything. It was just over.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to a concert, it's like, ooh, the last one, everyone's crazy and everyone's still high and buzzing and stuff. You know what I mean? And
well, sometimes at a concert, they don't turn the lights on. So you're assuming there's going to be an encore. There's going to be something more, when it's ending, they play their biggest song, whatever the case may be. But this just kind of ended, and both you and I, we kind of looked at each other. We're like, is it over?
Yeah. Cause the last band wasn't, which is a great band, but they're not, it was just kind of a quiet little exit. And usually you're expecting this big splash. I was hoping all the performers would come out. You know what I mean? Sometimes when they do a big jam at the end. No. So.
That's okay.
Yeah, but it was good. And like we said, we went with let's see what an awards show looks like. It wasn't like, we're going to see some certain performer. Let's just see what it's like. Because I don't think we'd ever have an opportunity to go again. And the only reason we went was because they gave it as a bonus to the concert subscribers. So, and it was like, do you want to go? Sure. Well, let's go check it out. Right.
Exactly. And it was, like I said, it was a great experience. It was a great night. We were monitoring the weather because, again, it's outside, so you have to be very cognizant of the weather. And the weather was fantastic. It was supposed to rain all week. I was looking at the weather. I was monitoring the weather. I know you can't predict the weather, but still I was monitoring it, wanted to see what it was going to be like. And ended up being like so warm. It was fantastic. Not typical for May in Toronto. But we were outside, so we weren't sure, do we bring jackets? Do we bring this? Is it going to rain? What's going to happen? But it ended up being a really fun night. So
yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
that was a good deal. So that was a nice little distraction to, sometimes you just take a little break distraction, and then sometimes you just jump back into it. And now you are back in Halifax.
I am on the East Coast. Yes, so literally Sunday night, concert, whatever, get home. And then I had to get up very early Monday morning to jump on a plane. But really interesting. The flight there were 16 people on the plane.
That's it.
16.
Wow.
It was so interesting. It's interesting how things are different. Like you see, again, the production side, right? Like you see, you're on a booked flight, like they've got their schedule, they come down with their cart, whatever. But this became more casual.
Yeah.
Because there was only 16 of us. We were all spread out on the plane. So they just kind of came and they're like, do you want anything? Like, we can get you a drink, but if you don't, we're not going to bring the cart down.
No. Yeah.
So that was
on a regional jet.
Yeah, it was a very small plane. But really, it was just, it's kind of fun to be on a plane when there's not very many people, right? Like you kind of feel in. And just a big shout out to Porter. Like they are fantastic. You go, their airport is not their airport, but the small airport, the island airport. Love the airport. I literally sent a note to Fay. I'm like, I'm so happy. Like I love the airport. Porter's great. I got here. I used Lyft. I did not use Uber. Like I was just pretty much the same thing, but it was just like everything just went like it was a Monday morning. So, Monday morning, everyone's like, oh, things are going to run. I wrote her. I'm like, the Lyft guy was great. The car was great. The airport's great. Porter's great. The check-in was great. The plane is great. Like I was just in this, like everything was great.
I think most cities out there, like, not most, I would say a lot of North American cities have little airports, right, as well as their big ones. So ours in Toronto is right on the water. It's called Billy Bishop. And so our condo, which is on the water, unfortunately you left too early, but there's actually a water taxi that you can take from right outside the condo, which is very weird, right outside the condo right to the airport. And even when you're driving, it was only what was the drive, 10 minutes or something? 8 minutes. So, there's a lot to be said. And then where does it land in Halifax? Is it a different airport or is it the big airport?
Yeah, there's only one.
Okay. So in here, you can in Toronto, you can go from small airport to small airport, depending to New York or to Montreal and if you're close to the city or if you live in the city, it's a hell of a lot easier than going to the big airport, which is, massive lines and everything. So it's a really good, unless you're, very loyal to a certain airline. Yeah. It's a really great way to get around. And it's one of those places where, I sit when I'm downtown, I always go, well, let's just jump on Porter and go to New York. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's a big deal.
Exactly. Like I got there, I had time to get a coffee, and then it was, if you want to board, we're here. It's just
it's a great airline. It's not a discount airline or anything.
No,
it's
a
really
not.
Nice airline. So, sometimes we get stuck in our ways and we're like, I'm a big Air Canada person because I traveled forever. So I have big status. So they treat me nice. But now, I would rather just, the older you get, you look for more convenience. And so would I jump on Porter next time to go to New York? Yes, we did that once. Yeah. Would I go, but it opens up now that we're traveling. I sit there and I think, oh, we should just like hop on a plane and go to Montreal. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a different feel to it, right?
Yeah. And the fact that, again, because Billy Bishop Airport is downtown Toronto, you don't feel like you've done, because sometimes it's like, well, it's a 2-hour drive, it's a 2-hour flight kind
Yeah.
of thing. But it was so close. So the commute to get to the airport was so short.
Yeah.
It didn't make it, it just didn't make it, it made the trip feel so much shorter, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, it makes a difference. But yeah, I mean, and that's, I think, the difference about, you know, having a place in the city. Right? Because if we were still out, if I was outside the city, I would always go to the big airport. But when you're in the city, it's kind of like, oh, well, like, as I said, just because just jump in a Uber or a Lyft and there you are, right? And I have to say, you get really spoiled in the city with Uber and Lyft. I mean, it never would occur to me to ever get a taxi cab. Like it just wouldn't occur to me because Lyft and Uber are so easy. It's on your phone. You don't have to worry about how to pay. It's easy. You don't worry about any of that stuff. It's all there, right?
Yeah.
So, and you can rate them, and that's why the drivers are usually a lot nicer, right? Because you can actually rate your ride, and they want good ratings.
Yeah.
So you don't rate your taxi drivers. So, you know, sometimes you get, you know, a little bit interesting ones, to say the least. Anyway.
Well, to be completely honest, I had never used Uber or Lyft before.
Yeah.
First experience. So if you haven't, highly recommended.
It's just the first one. You have to get over, because I know it's like at first you go, what? Like, are you sure is this trustworthy? And then once you do it once, you never ever do anything
Well,
else.
I think so. For me, again, processes, systems, like that's my thing, right? So I'm looking and I'm sitting there going, I'm not so like I'll admit. So I had a car pick me up. I had it scheduled for 6:10 a.m.
Yeah.
So at 5:59, I was down by the street and I was sitting there going, so there's no notifications on my phone.
No.
I'm not really sure if the guy has picked it up. What's going on? I'm like, well, I've given myself lots of time because that's what you always should do anyway. So I'm like, worst case scenario, I can always just call a cab.
Yep.
I'm 8 minutes away from the airport. I'm not going to be late. It's all good. But I'm like, I wonder how this is going to happen. And then 6 o'clock kicked in and it was like, and here's your car, and here's your guy, and here's where he is, and this is how long it's going to take, and here's where you track him. And would you like to talk to him? Would you like to call him? What would you like to do? And I was like, oh, I'm in love.
It's so great because you literally can talk to them. Like if they can't find you or something, you can just go, oh, I'm right here. I've got a, red jacket on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it makes sense, right? So that's how we normally go to concerts down at, well, I mean, we actually parked because I don't know how we did it. We ended up getting a VIP parking. I don't know. I just showed up on my phone. I was like, okay. Well,
but I love the fact that, so from my perspective, I was watching the car drive. So I knew that he knew where I was. And he also, because it says, do you want to allow them to track you?
Yes.
So he knew where I was. And I said, yes, obviously. And I knew the color of his car. I knew this. And I know that this is all, everything. You get it. But then I looked at it from his perspective and because I wanted to know what it was like from his perspective. So he saw on his phone the picture of me and where I was and where I was going. So it was very interesting from that perspective. But the disadvantage was he had to come in from the other side of town. So he said somebody must have either dropped the call, didn't, whatever, because it's an earlier time and not everyone works that early. So he actually had to come. But was interesting because I asked him the biggest difference between them versus a taxi when it comes to traffic, because he was telling me the day before how much traffic there was on the road.
Yeah.
And when there's lots of traffic, you don't pay. Like if you get in a cab, the more time you are physically in that cab, the monitor or the timer thing keeps adding money to your bill, right? It just the ticker just keeps going. But in those, they're just distance.
Yeah.
They are not by time. So if it takes an hour or if it takes 10 minutes, you pay the same and they make the same.
Right.
So that's where that system for them, great for the consumer.
Great for the consumer. But I mean, as a good consumer, When we're stuck, so sometimes when you go into the concert, it is traffic.
Yeah.
I tip really, really high to make up for it because it's now, especially now because of gas pricings, right? So you just have to be a good person and take that into
But
account,
that's
right?
what I
So,
did is I went onto the app and I said
yeah,
add tip because I
yeah,
knew he was losing out because he had to come. Now it wasn't my
yeah,
fault, but he
no,
was great, like
yeah.
amazing service. So I made sure that I did add that
And
tip
they
because I
can,
think
and
that's
they
important.
remember they rate you as a
Yeah.
customer, right? So they can say like, this person's a great person. And I think, and I know a lot of people go, well, I don't want that. Well, then don't use the service. But I like it
Yeah.
because it's kind of like if you've ever been a waitress, you tip well,
Yeah.
right? When you go out, you tip well because you know that's what their real pay is their
Right.
tips, not their actual pay.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with an Uber or anything else. I've never driven an Uber, but I know that I don't try to sneak out. Go, oh, I was in traffic for 2 hours. It only cost me $20. What a deal! You just basically hurt that person's ability to make money. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that take advantage, but don't be one of those people, right?
No, but
Like,
I don't think people realize that you get rated as well. And I think that's
yes,
important as a consumer to be
very.
a good customer because
I
if
love that.
I think it's fantastic. So I know through, I can't remember the service. It's not Airbnb, but it's one that we rented a studio for photographs. I know you've
Right.
rented it and I've rented a different space. I don't know I can't remember what the service was. But I was also rated.
Yeah.
Like I could rate them from a space perspective, but then
Yeah.
I also received a written testimonial and rating because I had left the place very clean, exactly how we
Yeah.
found it, exact whatever. So if I go to rent a space again, they can look at my profile and see that somebody has said that I'm a good customer. So I
Yeah.
don't know, again, from Uber or Lyft or whatever, same perspective, they can look and
Yeah.
go, yeah, she was a great passenger.
Right.
Then they'll
Good,
go,
not rude,
yeah,
was, because like it is true. It's kind of like, and I would like to rate people like that when I was a waitress that that just complete morons that should never have been in a restaurant to start with. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes I don't know, some people come in and they somehow think that, this waitress is the servant, right?
right.
And they just treat you, and then it's interesting because I always try to put it in perspective. You might treat this person like shit and then, end up being at the same event with them or at the same party or something, that they're in a different scene, right? They're in a different, like you've met, they were a worker there, but now you're at a party interacting or something. And you would never be rude to them at that party, but you somehow feel like you're allowed to be rude to the waitress. You're allowed to be rude to the Uber driver. Like, what the hell's that all about?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I remember so one time I was out Saturday night, quick drinks, whatever, at a restaurant, and the fire alarm went off. Smoke detector. So everyone had to leave the restaurant. So, and the restaurant was closed for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And everyone was outside. A lot of people going, score. I just got a free meal.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that in that particular scenario, the restaurant lost, the waiters and waitresses lost tips.
Yeah.
They lost money from all of that, and that is
Yeah.
somebody's livelihood. So I went back the next
Mhm.
day before the restaurant opened on the Sunday, and I knocked on the window, and they said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I want to pay my bill from last night." And they're like, "What? What do you mean you want to pay your bill?" And I said, "Well, the restaurant lost. Our waiter was fantastic. Like he shouldn't be out tips just because somebody pulled the fire alarm in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like that's not fair." And the sad thing is that they doubted that anyone would come back.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not okay. Like
Not
you had
okay.
service and you received a product, which was your food. You should have to pay for that.
It's yeah. I mean, it's karma, right? It's like you will get it back. I mean, what is it in the ABBA movie, Mamma Mia? It's karma, and it's spelled ha. Right? So like I'm always cognizant of, it's going to come back to you in one way or another. I keep saying I'm using bad language today, but if you're an asshole, it's gonna come back to you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's gonna come back to you. So, be cognizant of how you treat people, what you say to them, because eventually.
Well, it's kind of like there's a line from the Big Bang Theory, and I can't remember exactly what Raj says, but it's like, my karma is good. I'm going to come back as this. Your karma is not. You're going to come back as a banana slug.
Exactly. Exactly. So, be cognizant. You never know where you're going to end up as, you might end up in an Uber driver. I was watching a movie last night. It was called Senior Year. It's with Rebel Wilson. It's on Netflix. It was just a funny little silly movie. And this girl, Rebel Wilson in it, would idolize this woman who she thought had this perfect life back when she was, a teenager or something. And then, 20 years later, she literally 20 years later, she gets into an Uber and the driver is that woman who had the perfect life.
Oh, interesting.
And she says, well, the girl was like, I thought you had this perfect life. And she's like, well, I was divorced at 30. I didn't have any money. I didn't go to college. I'm just starting all over again. And so again, you just, you don't really know.
There's a lot of movies like that you'll see, somebody in high school was, sort of the putting people down and kind of the resident bitch.
Yeah.
And then, 10, 20, 30 years later, they're interacting and it's like, well, you know what? What goes around comes around. You were really mean to me in high school and now you want something from me.
Yeah.
And that's not how this works.
Yeah. And so you might be doing really well right now. Whoever's listening, you might be having a great job. And then in, 3 months from now, you might be an Uber driver or you might be a waitress because of circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say firsthand, because everyone knows who listens to me what I've been through. But it's fascinating because when you're out of that scene, where, you're at a certain level and you're with all the different couples and stuff. And it's interesting when you're out of that to see how people treat you differently. Yes. Right. So I'm on the other side now and I see it. And I just have nothing nice to say about a lot of people. Right? And unfortunately, it will come back to you one way or another. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's not really true because a lot of really awful people end up, walking through life very easily. You don't know that. You don't really know that. So be kind out there to the Uber drivers, the waitresses, the people that are holding the cables at the award show, all those people that you think are somehow not on your level might be well above your level.
Absolutely. And on that note, have a great week and we'll see you next time.
Bye.